All right, so once I've got it labeled, I'm going to show you kind of how to set up your palette, how much paint you're going to need, and how to make life easier for yourself when you're painting, okay? So when you get ready to paint, you'll each have your own palette, and you'll each have your own piece of paper that goes in there. This is just old, like, copy paper that I was just reusing. So this is a little paint tray for you. That way we're not putting paint in this tray and having to wash it out every time. It's so easy. When you're done with the day, you just throw the piece of paper away and put the tray back up, okay? So do you think I need every single color poured out right this second? No, that would just take up space. It would waste it. I don't need it right now. When I give you your paint boxes, you're going to see some things in there. I have a red and yellow, which are primaries, and I have two kinds of blues. I did this for you in case you want to just try them out. I gave you a blue that's kind of like more ultramarine, which is kind of like a darker, kind of like purpley blue. And then I gave you like a turquoisey blue. Now it's going to change your colors depending on which one you use. I think I'm just going to use my kind of darker blue because I have more of it because I've been using a little bit of my turquoise. So these are the ones I'm going to use. But I will say, and I'm not trying to confuse anybody, but use the same blue the whole time, okay? So if you use this blue for blue violet, use it when you make blue green and other things like that. Use it when you make your green, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my yellow. That's all I need right now since it's at the top. When I pour out, I try to pour in the corner so that I'm not wasting my whole palette paper and I'm not wasting my paint. I don't need a ton. That's all I need right now. It's probably like the size of a nickel maybe. All right. I'm going to go ahead, I like to dampen my brush a little, and I'm going to pick up some of my paint and scoop it out. I'm going to try to follow, and y'all are probably like, all right, Miss Taylor, this is like painting 101, but some folks may have never painted, or it's maybe been a while. So I try to kind of go in the same direction the whole time. I try not to ever scrub my brush into my paper. I like to just kind of sweep it on there. Once I've gone one way, I do like to go the other way. What's that called? Cross hatching. Look, it's back. You thought you could get away from it after drawing. Never. All right, so it's nice, clean. It's inside my triangle. All right, so when I have extra, I like to go ahead and just squeeze it next to my little pile to just use as much as I can. There was a little bit of something hiding in my brush. It's okay. I'm going to clean. I like to clean my brush between. I like to use a paper towel every time so I wipe it off. I don't ever put a soaking wet brush into paint or onto my paper. Alright, so now I need to do some more things. So I need to probably go to where next? Yellow, green, but I don't have green, so what do I need? I need blue. That's right, because I have to make some green. So I'm going to go ahead and put some blue on my paper. Alright. When I open these, I try to open them over the newspaper and not my palette because right now it's not a huge deal because they're new. But when they get a little old and we've been using them for a week or two, they're going to get crumbly and you may get, oh, that was all blue. You may get a lot of color where you don't want it. The crumbs kind of get re-wet a little bit. So I try to open it over my paper, like my newspaper. All right, so I've got my blue. Here's what I do. Have y'all ever tried to mix a color and you try to get it lighter and you keep adding the light and it just doesn't work? It's like it never changes. It's like I'm trying to lighten my color and it just won't change. I like to make big piles to save my paint, so I scoop it up and I put it over to the side by itself. If I'm making green, do you think I need more yellow or more blue? More yellow because it's lighter. A lighter color is like a drop in the ocean. It will get lost. I like to pull some color from the side of my paint because I may want that later for something like blue violet if I get enough time to get to it. So right now I'm making green because I'm going to need it for yellow green. So because I used kind of the darker purpley blue, it's making kind of like a swampy mossy green, which is pretty. If you use the turquoise, it may make like a brighter, more lime green, but it may make your blue violet later a little tricky. Something else that happens too is when people paint, it's like they mix the whole thing and it all disappears. So I like to really scoop it all into a pile and I squeeze my brush. How do you know the color is mixed really well? That's right, when you can't see any of the other colors. So if it doesn't look marbly anymore, it's clean. Don't try to mix your colors on your paper. It's not going to look good, okay? And I'll be able to tell. You're wanting this to be a really good, clean practice for your painting. All right, so I think it's good and mixed. I'm scooping up my green. That looks like a pretty good green. It may be a little bit light. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on my green. If it's thin right now, what do you think I should do? Do another layer when it dries. That was a really good tip. When it dries, because if I just keep wetting the same spot, it's just going to get thinner and thinner. And this is typing paper, so it's going to tear a hole at some point if I'm too rough with it. All right. So that's a pretty good green. While that's there, I'm going to go ahead and go do my blue. I squeezed off my green. I'm going to make sure my brush is really good and clean. So I like to kind of get it. It hides in this little metal part. It likes to hide. I'm going to go ahead and get some of my clean blue that I kept clean. So because this is tempera, it gets kind of thin. You might need another layer. When we make our paintings, you might. I use the side of my brush when I'm getting to tiny spots. And I'm not perfect by any means. And I'm not the cleanest person all the time. So sometimes my brush gets a little out of my triangle. And it's not the end of the world. I'm more worried about you making the correct colors and trying to mix them and see them. If it does look thin, you may just literally need to lay more paint onto your spot. And I just don't press as hard when I do that. It's like I'm just sweeping on the floor. Imagine when you sweep, you don't scrub the floor with the broom. You just sweep it up really gently. All right, so there's my blue. All right, now that my green's dried a little bit, I think I'm going to I might try to make a little bit of yellow green while I got my yellow, and it's right here. And once I make this one, I'm going to let you start trying things. Y'all are watching so great. All right, so I've got my green and my yellow. So how should I mix all this? What should I do to make yellow green? Add what? Maybe add a little bit of green to the yellow. So I'm going to make a new little pile because I don't want to dirty up my yellow. I might need it later. I'm going to add a little bit of green to my yellow. I'm going to pull like from the thin part because I might need that for my blue-green. So y'all see how I'm kind of saving myself trouble later? I think what frustrates folks with painting is it feels like they're just doing the same thing over and over because they're having to remake a color and remake a color. But the fact that I'm really kind of saving it is helping me. I also like to put my piles next to each other so that I can compare them. That may not be enough paint, so I'm going to grab some more yellow. I'll grab a tiny bit more green, mix in my original pile. Y'all are doing an excellent job watching. A lot of when I was in school was a lot of just kind of learning it. When I was in college learning how to paint, we kind of just like figured it out. So y'all are getting some good stuff getting to see. Alright, so yellow green. I'm going to go ahead and lay it down. Ooh, what do you think's happening? What did I do? It is way too close to the yellow. Good eye. But because it's light, I'm going to go ahead and lay it down and just cover it up with a little bit more. So that's okay. And I didn't know it until I put it down. I don't want it to be that obviously different. So I'm going to take some of my green. I'm going to put it back in here. Probably made it too green. And then this is the fun challenge of trying to get your color back where it needs to be. And so I just work on it a little bit at a time. Something else that may help is putting a little dot next to it. So that already looks a little bit better, a little bit more light. So mix it up good. Lay it back down. That looks a little better. May have helped to wait some. But for time and for y'all watching me, I wanted to go ahead and do that. So that looks a little bit more green. Okay. While I've got my blue out, I would go ahead and make blue-green. And then I could either move on and do some yellow-orange and stuff while I've got my yellow, or I might could go ahead and do blue-violet and pour out some red to make violet, okay? But I can use up this whole piece of paper. All right, do y'all have any questions about what you're going to be doing? I got it? All right, so where are the palettes at? Palette trays. Where's the paper at? Where are the paints at? All right, water bowls, they are right by the sinks. And y'all see how each sink has a color? It goes with your table. We haven't really ever used them much, but this is when I want you to start using them. So blue tables will go to blue sinks, purple to purple, yellow to yellow, red to red, which is in the back. You can share a bowl with your neighbor next to you.